Hey, good morning to those of you out there on the West Coast. Good afternoon to those of you here on the East Coast with me. It's still got a lot of snow out there, but at least the sun's coming out. That'll be fun. We're going to dive into today's training in just a second on why everybody should be thinking about AI and offering some sort of AI solution that's out there. This is really important thing to be tracking on, but something else that I may not get into during the training that I just want to let you know is that there's a lot of every single agency has something called the chief data officer or chief CDAO, chief data and artificial intelligence officer, whatever title they have. But basically, like you think about a CIO, chief information officer, they have somebody in charge of artificial intelligence. And there was and you'll see documents dropping. Like I just dropped one this morning, a strategic plan for 2025. And the idea behind this, and this is the defense agency, but the idea I just want to point out is that, or the tip I want to give you, is that there are these strategic plans that are going to be dropping, but just because they came from the previous administration and not in 2025, or not from the Trump administration going forward, doesn't make them unhelpful. They're very helpful. What will happen with the new administration is there'll be some changes in the strategic objectives, et cetera. But the reality is most of it is very good. The other thing I really like about these plans is you can get in there and find out the offices that are leading certain initiatives. And this all leads to your outreach efforts that you do in business development. So a quick tip for those of you showing up early and on time is make sure you're checking out the strategic plans for your agencies. You will see what those agencies are thinking about the use of AI going forward. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. I might say it twice. I'm trying to limit it to twice, but I am still sick. And so I'm just going to have a couple of hiccups. Bear with me. The content is good. What I want to teach today is good. Just me, I'm a little sick. Okay, so let's get diving in. Excuse me. So if you don't know this, I was in the Army. I joined the Army back a long time ago. But basically, the first Iraq war, I came in. I went into the Rangers. That thing kind of ended fast. And in 6 years, I went from working in a Ranger squad carrying a machine gun to working for a garrison commander to a corps commander, which is a garrison commander's basically the 06 who's in charge of a base. They don't go to war. They take care of the base and keep it all there. And then the corps commander, this was I Corps, so a 3-star general, and then went and worked for the 3-star general on his staff. And they're responsible for if they go to war, they pick up all the soldiers that are deploying and they take them with them. And then from there, I went and worked for the Secretary of the Army's office. So in 6 years, I did that kind of jumping. And you can imagine I learned a lot. But the best award I ever got was this thing called the Meritorious Service Medal, MSM, that I got back in 95, 96 timeframe, 1995, 1996, right? I know I look young, but I've been around a while. In that award, I got it because what it stated in the write-up was that I helped Fort Lewis, Washington become a paperless office environment. That was a big word back then, or big key phrase back then was paperless office. In the 90s, we're trying to go paperless, which is ironic considering Elon Musk just posted out recently on Doge about how we still do things completely in paper undergrounds in Pennsylvania or something. And that stuff has been around. But the reason I was able to do that back then was I was convincing a 3-star general that email was here and different network services, et cetera, around, and not to go too far in. But basically the way I was able to do that is I said, if we go to war, we're not going to take everybody bring their own weapon. And so back then I really helped, and I did this from an enlisted standpoint, which is unheard of. But I really helped get all the leaders on the same page of picking just one network environment. The reason I say this, though, and I talked about how email was critical. It was just coming out. No one was really using it. They would drive to just go talk. I don't know what happened to the phone. But you can imagine it, right? These leaders were resisting change that had already happened. Email had already been around getting some good motion in the early 90s, and then the later 90s, for sure, it was solid. But these people weren't using it in the military and in the government. And the reason I tell you this story is because AI is here. It's the same thing, right? The change has happened. And now it's going to be part of every aspect of our lives. It's already part of our refrigerators, our cars. I can't tell you the last time I worked on a car, and I'm a mechanic among all the other things I do, right? I'm a mechanic who used to climb inside of a big old truck engine and work on it or something. I couldn't tell you where my dipstick is on my new cars. They're so fancy and convoluted, right? And that's not new. That's been here for years and years and years. My current car is 11 years old, right? And so AI has been here and things have been coming. It's not just this wave. This last wave of the last 12 to 24 months is basically that line that says it's here. It's not coming anymore. It's here. And what I want to just encourage you to do is that it's important for you to embrace it, because it's not just here in life. Now it is here in the federal agency, and President Trump has doubled down on this, and the agencies are doubling down. And what I want to encourage you to do is to not, not resist it. Embrace the change that is here. And when you embrace the change, you're going to be able to deliver a lot of good success for you and your company and for your customers. So lead that change, not just embrace it. So let's keep going into every government contractor must offer an AI solution. By the way, when you get married, you become a Penn Stater for life, apparently. I'm a lifetime alum of a college I never went to. I'm going to break up today's topic for around AI and us having AI solutions within the federal market into 3 sections. I don't know why that slide is not actually showing. I'll give it a second to go, but I already have other slides. I'm going to talk about the current state of AI in the federal government. I'm going to talk about how to identify AI solutions that you can offer. It's really important that you're leading that change and you just don't let it happen to you and your company. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is, and let me just turn this off for 1 second and see if I can kickstart it again. The last thing I'm going to talk about is how do you find somebody who can help you, right? If you're a company that doesn't do AI, how do you find an AI partner that can help you? That's what we're going to be talking about today. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonald. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, co-founder of GovCon in a Box, and I'm happy to welcome you here to my federal sales training, where I provide tips for success in the federal market. After I got out of the Army, I spent 20 years as a small business owner, 2 different companies. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When we follow a process A to Z, we're going to have repeatable, predictable results. And this is what I want for you. If you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to our Government Contracting Success newsletter. Constantly, we put out great content in there, and we will continue to keep providing that content that helps you with your business development and federal sales, in particular, knowledge and skills. The other thing is tomorrow, so today is the 13th. Tomorrow is Valentine's Day for anybody who celebrates that. But I'm going to talk about the hiring freeze. In particular, tomorrow's training is the Trump hiring freeze. How is that impacting government contracting? So I'll be diving into that. Got a couple hundred people in there. It's a great time to network and meet other people and also hear my take on what's going on in the administration. And most importantly, what can we do to plan, right? We plan around what's happening to us. We don't just wait for it, right? I'll say this one last time. Apologize for coughing during my thing. I didn't want to miss the training with you, but I am sick. Hopefully I won't get anybody else sick today. Before we start, I just want to congratulate these 144 companies that are in what we call the 100 Club. These are companies that are fully visible to federal buyers in the very tools that the buyers use to look for them. You can check out your score at govconinabox.com. If you're already in the 100 Club, put your number into the chat. Let other people know you're here and what your number is. They go, oh, number 45 or something. Number 1, Graham. But go to govconinabox.com, put your UEI or company name in. We'll show you your company profile based on information from federal sources, and I give you a score in the top right. When you click on it, I give you guidance, written and video, on how to get yourself to the 100 Club. This is like no other thing is more important today or any day until you get in the 100 Club. The 100 Club is just a number I put there. But the tasks to get in a 100 Club are exactly what you need to do to be visible to federal buyers. If they're looking for you, you want them to be able to find you. And this is vitally important. So great to see people saying that they're in the club. That's awesome. Okay, one thing I want to just make sure I'm starting this slide with is I don't come into this with anything other than a salesperson's perspective or a business coach's perspective. How do I advise my own customers? How would I advise you to look at this current state of federal government contracting, right? The federal market, and make decisions. And so I'm not here to judge any of this stuff, good or bad. I try not to let anybody know how I feel about the Eagles or the Chiefs. But I do want to talk about the current state of AI. And this is just a very brief one. I've done tons of training about AI where I go deeper into it in different agencies, et cetera. So make sure you go back and look. I've done well over 600 trainings in the last 3 years that are all about federal contracting. So the first thing I just have here is that AI, it's funny. I said a minute ago, I said AI is here, right? It's here, it's past it. But what I want to say is that even though it's here, it's brand new. It's brand new, in particular in the federal market. I call it the cutting edge of the cutting edge. So if you think about a knife, and we say, oh, they're like the Army Rangers I was in, we were the cutting edge. Well, and then there's a cutting edge of the cutting edge kind of thing. You might think of that in the Rangers as best of the best or something. But in here, AI is the cutting edge of this emerging technology push that is happening throughout the world, but also in the federal market, right? And so it's the reason I'm saying this, that it's absolutely brand new, is because you're not behind the curve. It's right there. You can participate, you can team up with other companies, and you can get traction. So you are not too late, even remotely. So look into 2025, right? Obviously look into February and go, what can I do? But plan out 2025 and even 2026. What am I doing? How do I sit there and, get on the edge of that wave, if you will? Think about when you're surfing and you got a wave coming in, it's kind of okay if you're in the front because you do something with it, but it's never okay to be behind the wave. You're just going to have to wait for the next wave. And so right now you're sitting right there. The wave's coming, you're all positioned, and I really want you to do something about it. The second bullet I have here is that there are executive orders that are out there. If you're not tracking, the president has issued, 55, 56, 57 executive orders, and you can check them out on whitehouse.gov. You can pay attention to what's going on. I actually just signed up for X, or previously Twitter, so I could follow the Doge account over there and see what's going on and be able to communicate it to you, as well as just to be able to track it on myself. But the executive orders are coming out of the White House, and this is one of the ones that was done very quickly in the administration's, first 10 days. But this executive order directed, and I'm paraphrasing it here, is that it directs all the agencies, in particular, this lead office is going to be coordinating among all the agencies to develop an AI action plan that's going to sustain and enhance America's AI dominance. I want to encourage you to go look at that thing. But if I give you the spoiler alert to it, what the administration is saying to every one of the agencies that are out there is look at how you can use AI to dominate. How can you use it to reduce costs, increase efficiencies, identify areas that are more value to the end user, if you will. So if we're thinking about the Army, the end user might be the soldier in the field. If you're thinking about other agencies, the end user might be the constituent or the citizenry out there, the American community. And so I want you to look at this, but every one of the agencies has got this increased awareness and prioritization of AI. This is why today's training is about you having an AI solution. The next bullet on Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency. And so if you're not tracking, you want to track on this, because that is one of the biggest groups of people leading the most change out there. Whatever you think about it, it is moving. And so I track on things like this. Doge is really cutting massive amounts of federal spending. That's just like the big goal. I might have put somewhere else another slide about 50%. That number is in flux at the moment. And I was just literally half hour, 45 minutes ago, watching Elon Musk, who leads Doge and leads this whole push in 2025 on behalf of the president. I was watching him talk about what he's trying to do and where he's going. And there are levels of it you might disagree with, but there are certain things that are just flat out would make sense. An example that I would use, just as a simple example, and I'm going to use it for the next slide, is I remember having contracts with all sorts of agencies, and I would have to get my fingerprints for, public trust or secret or top secret, et cetera. At each agency, I would have to do some other thing. And it's like, this is crazy. For 20 years or more, I've been thinking this. It's like, why can't I just go to Walmart or whatever the version of it is, get my fingerprints, they're on record, you never need them again. I can literally sign into my bank, which is one of the most protected industries, in the country. The financial industry is very well protected. They want to protect our money. And I can sign in pretty easily, but to get my fingerprints, it's like this brutal thing, which then extends the time it takes to get me productive in a contract by 30 or 60 days. Something like that is an efficiency I think we all would agree on. And then you just, you kind of look at it. So what I want you to be thinking about as I'm going into the next slide is that Doge's first main focus is just flat out cost savings, or excuse me, forget about savings for one second, cost cutting, right? And that's a whole different term. So I want you to think about this. You are the subject matter expert around what you do. Doge is not. If they do it, they're doing it based on some data, et cetera, not to knock them at all, right? God forbid, right? But I'm looking at you going, you're the expert. What do you think you can do? And that's what we'll talk about in a minute, because you want to drive the cuts that Doge is recommending, et cetera. You want to be the ones recommending it, identifying areas. And I don't mean, hey, let's get rid of John and we can cut the cost down. No, and no offense to John, right? But I mean things like fingerprinting. If we did it this way, we could really reduce the cost by 10% or 90%. But if you're part of driving the cuts, identifying areas of efficiency, then I believe you can avoid being the cut. Hopefully that makes sense. And again, I'm not trying to have a debate about it. These are just this way I look at it is I want to be part of that change so I don't have the change just happen to me. By the way, I love how people are putting your city and state into the chat. This is really important because it lets other people know that, oh, you're down in, if I looked at where, so Melvin is in Maryland as an example. Somebody else might go like me, right? I'm in Maryland. Hey, maybe we should connect if we're going after the same thing. I also like it when you put your agency. When you get a chance, by the way, in the chat, if you were here yesterday, you know what I'm talking about, but put I sell such and such. Like if I use Chris Moffitt for 1 second, right? We sell training to federal agencies. And what I mean is everybody say we sell or I sell to federal agencies. And you just put 1 or 2 words, maybe 3 in the middle. And this makes it really easy to go, oh, you sell training, right? Okay, so let me talk while you're doing that kind of stuff. Let me talk about how to identify AI opportunities that you can be doing. So I just saw Amit in there, and he's been in the community a long time, and I know he's an AI expert. But some of us, we're not the AI expert, but we're better than the AI expert. We're, no offense, but we're the subject matter experts, right? We're an expert on the task at hand, the job. And I wanted to give you some tips on how you can look at your customers and at your core competencies and identify possible AI solutions. So the first thing I would recommend you do is identify your key functions and the processes of your services. I'm looking at Emily Roberts, for example. We sell full life cycle staffing solutions to federal agencies. Thank you, by the way. But if I looked at that, I go, well, okay, well, what are the key functions of full life cycle staffing, right? Break that down. And I would, if you break it down into 3 things, I would go, well, break it down into 3 more for each one of them. And you kind of keep breaking down those functional areas of key staffing in her case, or full life cycle staffing. And then the other thing is, what's the process for full life cycle staffing? And if you're not familiar with how process really works, at a high level, you might say, and I'm just going to guess this on staffing, right? But I might say talent attraction or something. I'm trying to attract, candidates. Talent recruitment, talent interviewing and onboarding, right? There might be these like 5 or 6 steps. Well, from a high level, yes, that's the process. But then every one of those process steps in that high level has its own process. What's the process for attracting talent? What's the process for validating they know what they say they know or something? Things like that. And so you want to look at what you sell, whether it's cleaning the bathrooms or working on floors and painting, or cybersecurity, or acquisition support, like you're in charge of you help with contracting, et cetera. each one of the things that we do, we can look at that. I'm looking at, I sell digital transformation, right? And well, those are two different things. I can't even see who it is because the name went away. But the person wrote, I sell digital transformation, AI solutions. And for me, those are two distinct things. Digital transformation is about the entire organization that's in the enterprise. AI solutions are about the individual parts. And so I'd encourage that to be broken up. But look at that, right? That person is the expert on digital transformation. What does that mean? The second thing I want you to do is when you have written these down, like your processes involved in what you sell in your core competency, then you need to sit there and rank those processes, but by how much time it takes. So for example, if you've got this one process and literally it's done in a couple of minutes, it's part of the process, but it's pretty easy. But you got this other one that takes a lot of time. I'm suggesting as an easy way of looking at what you sell to rank them by the most time it takes to commit. I used to help one of the federal agencies process their security clearances. And so anybody who wanted security clearance, they would come in. And I was doing this in Microsoft SharePoint back then, but it was the same thing. We call it business process improvement or business process automation. But the idea was we looked at that entire thing, and there was certain stuff that when we laid it out, we identified that they were the highest. And the funny thing is, it was seeking approvals, getting somebody to just approve this step so it could move to the next step. Most of the steps were fairly reasonable. It took an hour or this or that, right? But there was this one massive delay between each one of these steps as it went around to get approvals. And back then, for me, it was really easy because it was manual. And so we pulled it off a manual and we put it into a tool and we just sent it to them. We set up auto reminders saying, hey, you still got this thing. We set up a dashboard and we taught their approvers how to look at their dashboard first thing in the morning. We reduced the time it took to do approvals by 90%. Only the people who were experts at that could identify where the holes were, right? It's easy for us AI people to build a solution, but first we need to know what is the process. And you can do that by identifying the process and then ranking them by the time it takes to compete. One other thing you can do is like working with your customer or your team. If you got a company and you got a contract with 5, 10, 20 people or something, whatever it is, right? Talk to people and go, what is the biggest pain point? Not multiple. What is one of the one big pain point that you wish was gone? If you can identify that pain point as a subject matter expert, on the next slide, you can talk to an AI partner, right? They can figure it out. You don't have to figure out how to solve anything. As a subject matter expert, what I'm convincing you to do or trying to convince you to do is to just be the person who goes, oh, this is a pain, but this one's a bigger pain. Okay, so this is the biggest pain, right? If you can do that, then you can work with an AI partner if you don't have that skill yourself to build some of these solutions. I'm very good at identifying what needs to be fixed. I'm not an AI developer. I don't do that anymore, right? So I would turn to a partner with my rack and stack pain points and rack and stack processes. Something else that you can look at, I just want to kind of pick up my speed a little bit here, is identifying areas of costs and around what you sell. So if you look at what you sell and what the cost might be, an example is if I just think about flooring, because I'm trying to take something out of the professional services, but if I just think about flooring, what is the cost of maintaining the floor, right? We replace the floor and then we don't have to replace it again for, 5 years, 10 years or something. But how do we stretch that replacement cost farther? And, when I was in the Army, we used to have to strip and wax the floors every night, which sucks. But, I can look at that because that all is cost. That's manpower cost. You don't need soldiers doing that. We should be out training to fight. Did you really need all that wax and other stuff? How important was it to strip that down and bring it back up every night? And I'm just picking on floors, but you can look at that and go, what's the cost? All the related costs in there, and how can I maybe lower them or identify areas of improvement that can track on that? In the investment part, that's what I meant by replacing that floor. So the last thing is when you've done all this research, talk to somebody, whether it's your internal team and you guys already know, or you talk to a teaming partner. One of my favorite people to talk to is ChatGPT. I'm like, hey, I do this. How can I improve it? And it'll tell me how it can replace me. Wait, that's not necessarily a good thing. But you get my point, right? Talk to somebody, talk to an AI partner, and begin to brainstorm how you can go back to the very agencies you're supporting who you know are trying to cut costs and go, we've got cost cutting ideas. We'd like to talk to you about it. The sooner you can get in there, you're able to offer the solution and to bring the solution. That's better than somebody else offering the solution and bringing it, because then you're not part of it, right? This is that idea of, be the one determining the cuts, not be the cuts themselves. All right, so the last thing I want to talk about, just main thing, is how you can find AI partners if you're not an AI person. I would use easy math and say 80 or 90% of you don't know how to build AI solutions or IT solutions, et cetera. That's totally cool. Those AI companies I'm talking about, they're not brilliant, no offense, right? They've got half the solution. You got the other half of the solution. They know how to build AI solutions, but they don't have any problems to solve. They want to team up with you. And so this is a good thing. I would encourage you to do these simple steps to find it. First off, right here in this training, I bet you there's people in chat have been going, hey, I'm AI. If you want some AI help, let me know. Well, write all their names down, connect with them, have a 5 to 15 minute call and find out which ones you feel like there might be a fit, and start having conversations. By the way, a really quick suggestion: if you get into talking to somebody, don't feel like you have to stay there. If the dating isn't working, just go, hey, it was nice having a couple of dinners. I'm out of here, right? Don't stick with somebody just because you connected. There's ways to measure whether you're a fit for them and they're a fit for you. That's totally cool, right? But engage right here on LinkedIn, both here and also I do all sorts of posts, but you can go find AI-related posts that are being done by the government and see who's giving it a thumbs up, right? You can look at those people and go, oh, look at this. Jane here gave it a thumbs up, and it turns out her company is AI Specializations. Let me call her. Let me just say, I saw you here. I've got ideas I want to do, but I don't have the expertise. Want to see if we want to team up. Another way is go to DSBS. So go to dsbs.sba.gov. Again, this is the #1 search tool for federal buyers when they're looking for small businesses. It has 360 or 70,000 small businesses in there, and a whole bunch of them will have machine learning or artificial intelligence or AI. So you can look there. Another one, favorite of mine, which is the higher level up, is to go to contract vehicles, and GSA is one of the easiest ways. But go to Google and type in GSA Mass, and when you go in there, you'll see all the contract vehicles. So this is these are contract vehicles that are run by the General Service Administration. But my point is, GSA has an example, one contract broken into 3 pools. And it's like 1,200 different 8A companies are on this contract vehicle called 8A Stars 3. One of the pools is for emerging technologies, and I think that has at least 100 companies. If I had 100 companies I could reach out to and say, I'm an expert in this area and I'm looking for somebody to team up with on the AI side, is that you? Are you interested? This is how you can start reaching out. And their points of contact information are in there. The last one, if you're not familiar with CIBR, go Google it, or go watch my past trainings and videos, but go look at CIBR awardees. You can Google how to find them, but go find CIBR awardees who have responded or engaged somehow with AI type topics coming out of the federal government. There's $4.5 billion every year spent on innovation through CIBR. And the idea is you can find some of those people who are actively building AI solutions at a pretty fast pace just by following up on CIBR. So check those out. Okay, here's what I want you to remember, and I got like 1 minute left. Here's what I want you to remember for the training today. First thing is track what the agencies of the government is saying, right? You got to be researching and making yourself aware of what the Trump administration at the very highest level is saying and the administration or the agencies that you're trying to support. The second thing is do that whole brainstorming exercise of coming up with the AI solutions that can match what you sell. I talked about this the other day. I literally did it with one of my customers yesterday, I think, where we identified $100 million spending that we could drop down to 10 easily. That's a 90% reduction, right? That's huge. And the last one is team up with GovCon, AI GovCons. I just walked through that whole process, but don't feel like you have to do it all yourself. There's a lot of companies out there that would love to work with you. One that comes to the top of my mind is Blen, Mike Endale. You check him out. He's done CIBR stuff. He's done AI stuff, and he's been in our community for a long time as well. All right, so that's it for today. By the way, I've got a coaching program. It's a group coaching. You can learn more about it at govconchamber.com/coach. But for the rest of us, as we move forward and we're thinking about AI solutions out there, just remember, government contracting, it's not a secret. It's just a process. I will see you in the next training.